Today I'm going to simulate what it would be like to raise Venom and Carnage from tiny newborn symbiotes all the way to giant, fully evolved monsters in real life. I'm going to build habitats for them, feed them, test their personalities, train them, and slowly introduce them to the world to see what happens when two completely different alien life forms grow up side by side under the same roof. One of them is calm, calculating, and weirdly loyal, and the other one is pure chaos in a red skin suit. This is probably a terrible idea, but to start out, neither of them is big, scary, or city-level dangerous yet. Right now, they're both just contained samples inside two reinforced glass chambers on my table. The black one is Venom. The red one is Carnage. At this stage, they don't even look like full creatures. They look more like living liquid. Thick, glossy, moving on their own in little pulses like they're breathing without lungs. Every few seconds, they press themselves against the glass and then pull back, like they're testing the walls and memorizing the room. Even before they've fully formed, you can already tell they have different personalities. Venom moves slowly and deliberately. He spreads across the surface of the glass like ink in water, then gathers himself back together in one smooth motion. He's curious. Carnage is the opposite. He jitters, he snaps, and he sends little red tendrils against the glass like he wants to start problems with physics itself. He's either excited, angry, or both at the same time. So the first thing I want to do is wake them up properly and see how they react to the world. I dim the room lights, set up a clean test area, and slide the two chambers closer together. Venom rises first. The black symbiote lifts itself into a wobbling little shape about the size of a small cat, each with bright white eye patches forming where a face should be. He doesn't have a stable body yet, so his arms keep turning into blobs and then back into arms again. But somehow, even in this half-finished state, he still manages to look intimidating. Then Carnage wakes up, and immediately makes everything more stressful. He shoots upward in a jagged red spike, slaps the inside of the glass, and reforms into a twitchy little creature with razor-thin limbs, glowing eyes, and a grin that is way too confident for something that was basically soup 10 seconds ago. So now, the simulation officially begins. First, I need to see how friendly they are. I start with Venom. I open a small hatch in the chamber, and slowly offer him a gloved hand. He leans forward, sniffs the air even though I'm not sure he has a nose, and then wraps a soft tendril around my fingers. It doesn't feel aggressive. It feels like he's scanning me. Learning texture, temperature, movement, then he gently lets go and settles back. Okay. Weirdly polite. Now Carnage. I offer the same gloved hand, same slow movement, same careful approach. Carnage stares at it, tilts his head, and then turns one hand into 3 tiny red blades just to let me know he could if he wanted to. He doesn't attack, but he definitely makes eye contact like he wants credit for the threat. That tells me everything I need to know. Venom is going to be difficult. Carnage is going to be a full-time job. Now they need food. Since these are living alien symbiotes, I'm not going to pretend they can survive on normal pet food. In this simulation, I'm testing a range of materials and nutrients to see what fuels them best while keeping them stable and non-destructive. So I set out a food lineup. Protein gel, mineral slurry, electrolyte fluid, a synthetic nutrient block. And for fun, because I want to know how chaotic this is going to get, I put down a piece of chocolate just to see if they care. Venom immediately goes for the protein gel. He absorbs it smoothly, almost elegantly, like black liquid silk, pulling itself around the food and taking it in. His body gets slightly bigger, more stable, and his limbs stop wobbling as much. Carnage ignores everything for 5 seconds, then attacks all of it at once. He slaps the nutrient block, whips a tendril through the mineral slurry, flicks the electrolyte fluid off the tray. The hand somehow still manages to consume more total mass than Venom in half the time. The chocolate? Neither of them wants it. That actually makes me respect them more. After feeding, they both become more active, which means I need to stop treating them like tabletop science projects and build actual habitats before they decide the room belongs to them. Because Venom and Carnage cannot live in the same space. That is not a habitat. That is a countdown. So I build two separate enclosures. In Venom's habitat is a dark, cool containment room with climbing surfaces, smooth black stone, steel beams, and shadowed corners. He seems like the kind of creature that would want vertical movement, hiding places, and solid surfaces to cling to. I also install a suspended perch system because I have a feeling he's going to like hanging upside down for no reason. Carnage's habitat is more heavily reinforced. Thicker walls, more anchor points, less decorative stuff he can turn into a weapon. The floor is padded in some areas and metallic in others, so I can see what textures he prefers. I also add a central climbing column and hanging targets, because if I don't give him something to attack, he's going to invent a hobby that ruins my life. Once the habitats are done, I move them in. Venom enters his new enclosure slowly. He touches everything, tests every wall, climbs a vertical beam like gravity is a suggestion, then settles high up in the corner where he can watch the entire room from above. That feels very on brand. Carnage enters like he's storming a castle. He leaps onto the central column, spins around it, lashes a tendril at one of the hanging targets, and then immediately starts trying to figure out if the ceiling is beatable in combat. So, yes, these are definitely two different experiences. Over the next few days, I run daily routines with both of them. Venom develops structure first. Here his body becomes taller, broader, and more humanoid. His shoulders widen. His hands become more defined. His movements stay controlled, almost patient. He starts responding to simple cues, especially when food is involved. If I tap twice on the feeding tray, he drops from wherever he's perched and comes over without trying to break anything. Carnage also grows fast, but in a much more dramatic way. He develops long, whip-like arms and unstable bladed edges that come and go depending on his mood. He's not just moving more than Venom. He's experimenting more. Every object in his enclosure becomes either a toy, a tool, or an enemy. I decide to introduce target training. This is a terrible sentence to say about alien symbiotes, but structure matters. For Venom, I use a reinforced marker paddle. He learns quickly that touching the target calmly earns him a reward. Within a day, he's moving with weirdly precise obedience. He can approach, pause, follow hand direction, and even hold still for a few seconds. That's honestly way better than I expected. Carnage also learns the target system. The problem is that he learns it too well. He realizes the target predicts food, so instead of calmly touching it, he starts ambushing it from impossible angles like he's trying to win points for style. Technically, he understands the exercise. Emotionally, he is not committed to teamwork. As they grow larger, I start testing them with simple enrichment. Venom gets hanging ropes, weighted panels, and moving lights. He seems to enjoy puzzles, anything that makes him track motion and react with control. At one point, I hang a mirrored object in his enclosure, and he just stares at himself for way too long, like he's having a philosophical moment. Carnage gets kinetic targets and breakaway training props. He doesn't solve enrichment, he dominates it. And if something swings, he hits it. If something dangles, he grabs it. If something resists, he gets excited. Then I try something risky but necessary. Visual introduction. Not physical contact. Absolutely not. Just letting them see each other through reinforced glass. Venom notices Carnage immediately. He doesn't charge. He doesn't panic. He steps forward slowly and watches. Carnage sees Venom and loses his mind with joy. Not because he wants friendship, because he finally sees someone interesting. He slams both hands against the barrier, spreads out into a red web across the glass, and grins like this is the best thing that's happened all week. Venom doesn't back away, but the muscles in his shoulders tighten and his tendrils rise slightly off his back, like he's preparing for a situation. That tells me these two will absolutely need separate life plans. Now we skip forward a little. They've both been growing for weeks. Venom is now bigger than a large dog, with a full chest, powerful arms, long black tendrils, and a stable face with those huge white eyes. He moves like a panther crossed with a bodybuilder, silent until he decides not to be. Carnage is thinner, taller, and somehow more dangerous looking despite having less mass. His body is all edges, movement, and sharp red instability. He can climb anything, launch from anywhere, and change shape faster than Venom can react. At this point, the indoor enclosures are no longer enough, so I build them outdoor habitats. Venom gets a dark training yard with climbing towers, steel walls, overhead beams, and a shaded pool. I'm curious whether he prefers high ground or enclosed shelter when given both. I also add heavy pull targets because I want to test strength without having him use my house as resistance training. Carnage gets an isolated reinforced arena with vertical columns, suspended platforms, and impact-safe barriers. Yeah, this one is further from everything else for obvious reasons. I add motion-triggered targets, so he has something to chase and strike without improvising new crimes. The first time Venom goes outside, he freezes for a second. Then he looks up. The open sky seems to change something in him. He climbs to the highest beam in one fluid motion and crouches there, scanning everything like he's just been promoted to guardian of the property. Carnage reacts differently. He doesn't admire the outdoors. He attacks the concept of space. He sprints, leaps, scales a vertical column, launches himself sideways to another platform, and then just hangs upside down from a beam like an unwell red gargoyle. The man has found enrichment. As part of the simulation, I also want to see how they react to normal world pressure, so I introduce controlled outside stimuli. Loud sounds, moving vehicles in the distance, bright lights, unfamiliar shapes, and Venom adapts extremely well. He pauses, evaluates, and then incorporates the new information like a machine learning model made of teeth. The more he sees, the calmer he gets. Carnage adapts by becoming more interested in everything. Noise doesn't scare him. It energizes him. Motion doesn't confuse him. It gives him targets. That means one of them is becoming stable. The other one is becoming confident, which is honestly worse. Now comes the part I've been waiting for, strength testing. For Venom, I set up weighted drag chains and reinforced panels. He approaches the first chain slowly, wraps both arms around it, and pulls. Not wildly, not recklessly. Just pure controlled power. The chain slides across the ground like it weighs nothing. Then I raise the difficulty. He still does it. At that point, I realize Venom isn't just strong, he's efficient. He only uses exactly as much force as he needs, which somehow makes it more intimidating. For Carnage, I use moving targets, to spring barriers, and evasive drones in a contained space. He absolutely loves this. He starts treating the entire arena like a combat puzzle. He's faster than before, more accurate, and much better at closing distance. He doesn't overpower the targets like Venom. He overwhelms them. The difference between them is becoming crystal clear. Venom is power with restraint. Carnage is pressure without mercy. As they continue to grow, I test feeding again. Bigger portions, bigger energy demand, a more complex behavior around resources. Venom takes food directly when offered and then moves away to eat in private. He guards it, but calmly. He's possessive, not frantic. Carnage turns feeding time into a war documentary. He paces before the tray even arrives. The second food enters the arena, he's already there. He consumes fast, then immediately checks whether more is coming. If not, he glares at me like I've personally failed him. By now, they're both huge. Venom stands taller than I do when fully upright. Carnage is leaner but longer, with an even bigger reach thanks to his extended limbs and tendrils. And that means the final phase of the simulation has to begin. We need to see what they become at scale. So I move Venom to a much larger industrial training site, an abandoned-looking concrete lot filled with climbing structures, shipping containers, broken walls, and elevated beams. It's the perfect place to test his mobility, control, and intimidation factor in an urban environment. The moment he enters, he thrives. He moves through the space like it was built for him. 1 second he's on the ground, the next he's on a container roof, then a wall, then hanging under a beam. He's not destroying the place. He's owning it. Every movement feels intentional. Then I move Carnage to a separate large-scale obstacle zone made from reinforced barriers, ramps, platforms, and a maze of corridors. If Venom treats the environment like territory, Carnage treats it like prey. He doesn't move through the structure, he attacks through it. He uses every angle, every wall, every opening. He vanishes around corners, reappears above targets, and turns the entire course into a panic generator. If Venom is scary because he's controlled, Carnage is scary because he's creative. Eventually, I decide there's only one logical way to end the simulation. A controlled face-off. Not a fight to the finish. Not anything graphic. Just one final test to see what happens when both of them, fully grown, stand in the same world and recognize how far the other has come. So I set up the largest reinforced test zone I have, with multiple barriers between them. Escape gates, overhead observation, and enough separation that I can stop things before they become catastrophic. Venom enters first. Calm, silent, massive. Carnage enters second. Smiling. At the moment they see each other, the whole space changes. Venom squares his shoulders and lowers his center of gravity. Carnage spreads his arms and slowly forms blades along both forearms like he wants maximum drama. They circle from opposite sides of the reinforced divider, matching pace. No wasted movement, no confusion. Just mutual recognition. This isn't hello. This is I know exactly what you are. Carnage strikes the barrier first. One fast slash, more theatrical than practical. And Venom doesn't flinch. He steps forward, places one hand against the divider, and just stares. The contrast is perfect. Carnage is motion. Venom is pressure. I let the tension build for a few more seconds, then trigger the safety shutters and separate them again. Because the point of the simulation isn't destruction. It's growth. And by the end, both of them have become exactly what their beginnings promised. Venom started as a dark, curious, living liquid and grew into a massive, disciplined predator with strength, patience, and weirdly solid training potential. Carnage started as a twitchy red nightmare blob and became a giant chaos engine with speed, aggression, and the emotional energy of a lit firework in a locked room. So, which one would be the better real-life pet? Venom, easily. He's still terrifying, but at least there's a version of reality where he listens, learns, and maybe doesn't wreck everything you own. Carnage? Carnage is not a pet. The carnage is a long-term consequence. By the end of this simulation, Venom is perched high above an industrial wall at sunset, looking like the king of some black alien kingdom. Carnage is pacing a maze below floodlights, still looking for one more thing to conquer before bedtime. And somehow, after all of that, I think Venom enjoyed the training. Carnage enjoyed the chaos, and I enjoyed surviving both. Thanks for watching. Comment which creature I should simulate next. And tell me honestly, if you had to keep one, are you choosing Venom for the loyalty or Carnage because you apparently enjoy stress for fun?